One of the easiest things you could do to have a positive impact on your candidacy is to have great questions to ask at the end of the interview. And that's no different with Goldman Sachs. If you really want to stand out as a candidate, when you're closing and the interview is coming to an end, you need to have great questions to ask them. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 great questions you can ask in your interview with Goldman Sachs to show them that you are a great candidate. Now, this is video 4 in a 4-part series. So if this is the first video you're seeing, make sure you go to the playlist and watch the first 3 because they are highly impactful and they will help you become the best candidate possible, specifically for your interview with Goldman Sachs. But make sure you stay around to the end of this video because at the very end, I'm going to tee up a video on the screen that's going to help you become even more effective as an interviewer. All right? Let's get started. Now, the first question I want you to ask in your interview with Goldman Sachs at the very end is I want you to ask them, what does this person need to accomplish in the first 12 months in order for you to consider this hire to be a success? This is a great question for a few reasons. One, it is a great question because you want to understand what are the things I need to accomplish in the first year for this to be a good hire? And do I feel like I can do those things? Are they realistic goals, right? That's really important. The second thing is I want to know that my hiring manager, the person who is going to be charged with my success moving forward, has thought about these things and can clearly articulate reasonable goals for me. That's really important. Lastly, it makes you look as someone who is very strategic and forward thinking. You're not just thinking about getting the job, you're thinking about having success in the job. And that's going to make you look really good as a candidate. The next question is, what can you tell me about the strategy of your department over the next 12 to 18 months? This is a great question. I personally always want to know, is my hiring manager someone who is forward thinking? Are they a futurist? Are they strategic? This question allows you to get a glimpse into that. What they say here is going to tell you a lot about their plan for the future. Do they have one? Is it a good plan? Are they excited about that? All that information is important. It also, again, makes you look like a forward-thinking candidate, someone who understands the importance of looking into the future and understanding where the department's going. It's also really important because what if there's a big change in the horizon? Does that change align with what you want to be doing in your career? I would want to know if I'm coming into a role in which there would be a massive change in the next 6 months. That would highly impact my decision to take a job or not take a job. But you'll never know if you don't ask this question. The next question is, what keeps you at Goldman Sachs? This is if someone's been there for a long time. If they're new, you can say, what initially attracted you to Goldman Sachs? And the whole point of these questions isn't that you're trying to get this information. I mean, it's good and more information is always better, but really you want to provide them with an opportunity to talk about something they're passionate about. People tend to have a more positive recollection of an interaction if they get to talk more. So you want the interview to have a chance to share things that they're passionate about. And then you want to be an engaged listener, listening to them, providing positive affirmation, nodding, smiling, and then making comments about that. I think that's a really important way for you to use this last bit of time to connect with them. Additionally, this serves as great information for a thank you email. If you want to send them a thank you email, you can send a really personalized email in which you're specifically citing the information they share here. If you send just a blanket copy and paste thank you email to people, it doesn't make a big impact. But if you send one in which you include information that they are passionate about in the email, it makes it seem highly personalized and therefore is more effective. The next question I'd like to ask is, what is the most challenging aspect of this role? That is a question they do not get a lot. Now, when you ask a hiring manager a question they get a ton, they have answers ready. But when you ask them one that is unique, that they haven't heard a lot, well, what happens? You get a more authentic answer because they're not rehearsed, they're not prepared. They're going to say what comes to mind. This question is not frequently asked, so you are more likely to get a candid answer. And quite frankly, every role I take for the rest of my life, I want to know what's the hardest part of this role. And I want to know, well, do I feel good about my chances against that challenging part of the role, right? Do I have the skills and abilities to deal with this? I like asking this. I like it because it is unique. Anytime you can seem as someone who is memorable or unique in an interview, it behooves you to do so. I also just love the authenticity you're going to get from their answer. Another great question to ask are, what are the skills and the behaviors of the most effective people on your team here at Goldman Sachs? And what you're basically asking them is like your best people, right? What makes them awesome? And this is good information. If you have more interviews after this one, like if this isn't the final interview, you want to know that information. That way, when you're asked future questions, maybe you can allude to the fact that you share some of the strengths of their best people, right? you can also, in that moment, allude to it. When they go, the best people on my team, those are the people who are really hardworking and they're good teammates. Those are the people I found to be most effective, right? You can say, oh, that's really good to hear. I think one of the things that's made me successful in the past, and some of the feedback I get during my performance reviews, is that I tend to be someone who is highly collaborative and works with others well. And I'm also a really hard worker. So it's really good to hear that that's what makes people successful here, because I think me coming into this role, I would be set up for success then. It's a great way to respond, just to kind of boost your candidacy a little bit. And this next question is a closing question. It's a question I like to ask at the very end of the interview. It is the last question. And that question is, do you have any questions or concerns about my ability to do the job? Great question, because there are one of two outcomes here. The first one is they'll say, no, I don't have any questions. I think you'd be really good. At which point you can reiterate your interest in the role. You can say something along the lines of, well, that's great to hear. I am really interested in this role. I'm really interested in next steps. If you have any questions, please let me know, but looking forward to what comes next here. Something like that, right? If they go, well, yeah, Ben, actually, I do have a concern. We really were hoping to find someone who has management experience, and you don't really have management experience. This gives you an opportunity to rebuttal their concern, which is great, because if you don't ask this question, you will not get that opportunity. You just won't. Now, there is a key to rebuttaling this in the right way, and that is to do it in a non-confrontational, non-defensive way. And the best way to do that is to immediately disarm them by saying, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me that feedback and being as candid and honest in this moment. However, I don't know if I did the best job of explaining my background in management. I don't think I put it on my LinkedIn or resume, but I actually have about 5 years of management experience while I was at ABC company leading a team of blank. And then you can actually counter it. And it gives you a chance to revive your candidacy if that is going to knock you out and make it so they don't consider you. But it's a great way to close the interview and really makes you stand out as a great candidate. Now, another way to stand out as a great candidate is to nail the first 3 minutes of the interview and the last 3 minutes of the interview. This has proven to be disproportionately impactful to the probability of success when it comes to interviewing. It's why I made this video here, how to get a job in 6 minutes. And if you really want to supercharge your ability to be effective, you should go watch that.